In the past, people believed mental illness was caused by demons or curses. Well, we laugh at that now, but here's the twist. Many modern beliefs about mental health are just as inaccurate. In this video, we'll uncover 6 misconceptions that still shape the way we think today. Have you heard people say about mental illness like, it's just a chemical imbalance in the brain? Sounds scientific, right? But it's not that simple. For years, people believed depression or anxiety could be explained by something like, oh, your brain doesn't have enough serotonin. And yeah, brain chemistry plays a role. But here's the catch. Mental illness doesn't come down to one single chemical being off balance. That's like saying a car won't start only because it's out of gas. Sure, sometimes that's true, but it could also be the battery, the spark plugs, or even the key. The brain, just like a car, is way more complicated than a single switch. Mental health is shaped by a whole mix of factors, like genetics, your upbringing, stressful life events, trauma, your sleep, diet, even the kind of support system you have around you. Think of it like a recipe, and brain chemistry is just one ingredient. It's definitely not the whole dish. Why is this important? Because if we stick to the idea that mental illness is only a chemical imbalance, then the solution seems too simple. Just take medication and you're fixed. But in reality, treatment is often a combination of approaches. Medication can help, but therapy, lifestyle changes, mindfulness, and strong social support all play huge roles in healing and managing mental health. Ignoring these means ignoring pieces of the puzzle. Here's the hopeful part. Since mental illness isn't just one thing, it also means there are many doors to recovery. It's not all or nothing. For some, medication looks like a lifesaver. For others, therapy makes the biggest difference. Often it's both, plus healthier routines and supportive communities. So next time you hear someone say, mental illness is just a chemical imbalance, screw that person. The second myth says mental illness is always visible, that you'll see clear signs like sadness, mood swings, or isolation every single time. It's everywhere. Movies, TV shows, even social media often paint mental illness in super dramatic ways, so it sticks in our minds. Sure, sometimes it does look obvious. Someone might cry often, avoid people, or act way different than before. But here's the catch. Not everyone shows those signs, and some people get really good at hiding them. The reality is, mental illness isn't always visible. Many people with depression, anxiety, or even more serious conditions keep up with daily life. They go to work, get good grades, crack jokes, post selfies, all while fighting battles inside that nobody sees. Think of it like an iceberg. The part above water is what you see, maybe a little stress or sadness, but the bulk of it, the real weight, is hidden underneath. That's how mental illness often works. Here are a couple of real-world examples. Research on high-functioning depression shows that lots of people mask their symptoms and appear totally fine. Suicide prevention studies reveal something heartbreaking. Many people who took their lives seemed cheerful or normal to those around them just days before. Why is this myth harmful? Because if we think we can spot mental illness, we might dismiss or overlook people who need help. It also pressures people to act like their struggle has to be visible before it's valid. That can make them hide even more or avoid asking for support. So what should we do instead of assuming? Just check in on your friends, even the ones who look like they have it all together. Ask how they're really doing. Listen without judgment. You don't need to be a therapist to make a difference. Just being present matters. The number 3 is mental illness makes people dangerous. That if someone has schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, or depression, they're more likely to hurt others. You've probably seen this idea a million times in movies and crime shows. The crazy villain stereotype is everywhere, so no wonder people believe it. Sometimes the media makes it look super convincing with dramatic headlines, scary characters, and unpredictable behavior. Let's break it down. Research shows that most people with mental illness are not violent. In fact, they're much more likely to be victims of violence than perpetrators. Think about that for a second. The very people society fears are often the ones who need protection. Studies estimate that only a small percentage of violent crimes involve someone with a mental illness. And usually, other factors like substance abuse, poverty, or trauma play a bigger role. Why does this myth matter? Because it creates fear and stigma. If we label people with mental illness as dangerous, we isolate them. Employers hesitate to hire, Neighbors keep their distance, friends pull away, and that kind of rejection makes recovery even harder. Is there a grain of truth? Well, in very rare cases, untreated severe mental illness combined with other risk factors might increase the chance of violent behavior, but reducing it all down to mental illness equals dangerous, like saying all mushrooms are poisonous, when in fact, some are harmful, but many are edible, healing, and even essential. So, what should we do instead? Well, we can replace fear with understanding, get the facts, challenge the stereotypes, and treat people with compassion. If you really want safer communities, focus on addressing root causes of violence like substance abuse, inequality, lack of support, and not scapegoating mental illness. The number 4 is pills are the only way to get better. Medication can be a game changer for many people. But why does this myth stick around? Partly because of ads and media that make it look like pills are a magic fix, and partly because when you're in pain, it's comforting to hope for a quick solution. But in reality, pills usually work best as part of a bigger plan. Studies even show that combining meds with therapy often leads to stronger, longer-lasting results than relying on pills alone. This myth can set people up for disappointment. If the pill doesn't fix everything right away, they might feel broken beyond repair. Or they might skip therapy and other supports altogether, missing out on tools that could actually help them heal. A quick way to picture it: imagine trying to fix a leaky roof with just duct tape. It might hold for a while, but if you really want to stay dry, you'll need more than that. So, what should we take away? Pills can be helpful, but they're not the whole story. Real recovery often comes from a combination of treatments, healthy routines, and support. Number 6, certain people never get mental illness. The idea sounds comforting, right? Like mental illness is something that only happens to other weak, poor, or unlucky people. But the truth is, mental health doesn't work that way. It's not about strength or weakness, or being part of some lucky group that's immune. Mental illness can affect anyone, even young or old, rich or poor, confident or shy. No one is automatically safe. Why do people believe this? Part of it comes from stigma. We like to think we can control everything with willpower. Movies and TV do show mental illness and its effects, but they often dramatize or simplify those portrayals, which can distort public understanding. But science tells a different story. Nearly 1 in 5 adults will experience some form of mental illness in their lifetime. That's a lot more common than most of us realize. The harm in this myth is huge. If we think some people are immune, we ignore signs in ourselves or others because it couldn't be that. It also shames people into silence, as if their struggle means they're weak or abnormal. In reality, they're just human. Picture it like the weather. Some people live in sunnier climates, some have stronger umbrellas, but storms can still come. Mental illness is like that storm. Sometimes it's unpredictable, and no one is completely shielded. The last misconception is, once you have mental illness, you'll never recover. A friend once whispered to me,
"You know I'll be stuck with anxiety disorder until I'm 90. There's no way back."
It's a scary thought, and it makes struggles feel permanent. But here's the thing, it's just not true. Mental illness isn't a life sentence. Recovery is possible, and it doesn't always mean the illness disappears completely. Sometimes recovery looks like finding the right treatment, building coping skills, and learning how to live fully even with challenges. For some people, symptoms fade away. For others, they come and go, but life still becomes manageable, meaningful, and even joyful. Why do we believe the never recover myth? Maybe because dramatic stories get more attention. The media often shows tragic endings, not the everyday victories of people who heal and thrive. Or maybe it's because progress in mental health can be slower and less visible than we'd like, so it feels endless. This myth steals hope. If you believe you'll never recover, why reach out for help? Why try therapy, medication, or support? People can end up suffering longer, not because recovery is impossible, but because they've stopped believing in it. Here's some truth. Research shows that with the right care, whether it's therapy, medication, support systems, or lifestyle changes, most people improve significantly. Millions are living proof, balancing careers, relationships, and passions after diagnoses once thought lifelong. Think of it like breaking a bone. Sometimes it heals completely, sometimes it leaves a scar. But in most cases, you walk again, stronger and wiser for the journey. Mental health recovery is like that. The next time those old myths creep into your mind, Just remember this: mental illness doesn't define your pain, your journey, and your own story. It's not as scary as people make it out to be, and healing is much more possible. If this video helped shift your perspective, share it with someone who might need to hear it too. See ya!